In the city of Copenhagen, the capital of Denmark, two beautiful houses are separated by an alley, and above the alley, a high stone bridge extends like a bridge between the balconies of the first and second houses. The boy, Kai, lived in the first house, and the girl Gerda lived in the second house. They exchanged affection and had an innocent friendship. Often, they would meet on the bridge, cultivating flowers in their pots or watering the plants, especially on school holidays. At that time, they would discuss their studies, with Gerda posing some math problems for Kai, who excelled in the subject, and he would ask her for explanations in history, literature, and philosophy, in which she was proficient. The friendship between the two young people continued to grow until something unexpected happened. One day, a stranger with a sinister appearance walked through the alley, his features indicating malice. Indeed, this man harbored resentment and couldn't stand seeing two humans being friends, sharing unity and harmony. When he saw Kai and Gerda exchanging conversation with apparent affection, watering the flowers together on the bridge, he became very displeased and was determined to sow discord and hatred between them. The man carried a peculiar yellow mirror in his possession, a strange mirror that, when reflecting sunlight onto a person, turned their heart into a frozen block devoid of warmth, beautiful emotions, and tender feelings of friendship and love. This mirror also cast a cold yellowish veil over the person's eyes, preventing them from seeing beauty and goodness, both in people and in nature. The malicious man stood where Kai and Gerda could not see him, held up the yellow mirror, positioned it facing the sun and tilted it slightly to reflect its strong light onto Kai's eyes and chest. The boy shivered, his eyes dazzled by the light, and he turned towards the source. The man disappeared, laughing to himself in secret. Suddenly, Kai felt a transformation, becoming a different person. He looked at the flowers in the pots on the bridge, only to find them devoid of their colors and fragrances, resembling thorns. When he turned his eyes towards his friend, Gerda, hoping to return to himself, he felt as if the girl had become a stranger, cold and rigid, losing her beauty. The color of the roses on her cheeks faded, and the reflection of the clear sky in her eyes turned from blue to ash. It was as if Kai had never seen Gerda before, and his heart did not beat with love for her. As for the girl, her heart trembled in her chest with fear, as she read in Kai's eyes signs of aversion and cruelty that were sudden and unexpected. She anxiously asked, "What ails you, Kai? Did you suddenly feel pain or discomfort? Have you fallen ill?" The boy harshly replied, "Leave me alone. I am free to do as I please, am I not?" Gerda responded, puzzled by his harshness. "Did something I said upset you? Did I unintentionally offend you? Or do you not want me to join you in watering the flowers?" Kai answered her with severity, saying, "Where are the flowers and where are the roses? Are you mocking me? I see nothing but thorns in these thick pots, with no color or fragrance." He turned away in anger and hurried towards his home as if escaping from a dangerous epidemic. Gerda followed him with teary eyes, her heart filled with astonishment. She couldn't believe what she saw and heard. When she reached the balcony of his house, she called out to him, saying, "Surely you're joking, Kai. Please stop this jest." But Gerda quickly realized that Kai was not joking. He had transformed into a strange boy, unfamiliar to himself and to her and the neighbors. His heart had dried up, devoid of kind emotions, and his eyes no longer saw beauty. Whenever she tried to approach him, he quickly distanced himself as if they were mortal enemies. And so, he remained in this state. And Gerda did not lose hope for his return to normalcy until the winter and snow season arrived. The boy, Kai, loved snowboarding, and he had a sled-like board that he would carry to a snow-covered hill, then ride it down for fun. He would repeat the activity until exhaustion. One day, while engrossed in this sport, he heard a thunderous noise that pierced his ears. He turned to see a large sled being pulled by intertwining horns of oxen, resembling twisted branches of trees. They were moving at maximum speed, and on the sled was a lady of beauty and majesty. Before Kai could react, the sled passed by like lightning, dropping a sturdy rope that wrapped around him and his sled, dragging them along. The boy shouted in shock, tried in vain to escape, and screamed for help, but it was in vain. In an instant, he found himself outside the city, tethered to the sled, with the horns of the oxen cutting through the wind. The girl Gerda had witnessed what happened to the boy Kai from her room window. She rushed to the balcony to observe, but all she saw were the tracks of the sled on the snow, and she heard only the fading noise as it moved beyond the hills. She remained in shock, unable to believe what her eyes had seen. The families of Gerda and Kai had also heard the commotion, and they came out to investigate. The girl narrated what she had witnessed, and the mother of Kai nearly fainted from the shock. Gerda approached her and confidently said, "Do not worry, for I have seen the owner of the sled, and I will find out who she is. I will go to her and bring back Kai." Determined, Gerda began her journey, asking everyone she encountered about the lady with the beautiful sled pulled by oxen. She gathered information, compared details, and learned that the lady was the Snow Queen, ruling a distant land where the sun was unknown and ice covered the ground throughout the year. Gerda sought permission from her family and embarked on her long journey to the Snow Queen's kingdom. The people of Asuj learned about her situation, and they were impressed by her courage and loyalty. Wherever she passed, they offered her water, food, and clothing, welcoming her with praise and admiration, bidding her farewell with prayers and wishes. As for Kai, upon settling in the Snow Queen's kingdom, he remembered his past without feeling sadness for parting from his family and Gerda. Just like us, he had a heart of ice. He had lost his kind emotions and possessed only one feeling, a sense of imprisonment in the Snow Kingdom. He had lost his benevolent desires, except for one desire, freedom. The Snow Queen invited Kai from his icy prison, his limbs frozen from the frost. When he stood before her, she asked, "Why did you obstruct my path, boy?" Kai protested, saying, "As soon as I saw the ox-drawn sled while heading to snowboarding, I found myself bound by the rope to the sled." The Snow Queen interjected, "But I passed through all of Copenhagen, and no one obstructed my path except you. I brought you to my kingdom to suffer imprisonment and frost as punishment for you, and as a lesson for others in the land of Denmark." Kai responded, "But I am innocent, believe me. I am innocent." The Snow Queen, angered, retorted, "How can you claim innocence and honesty when you shed not a single tear for the separation from your family, loved ones, and homeland?" Kai was perplexed and found no answer. The Snow Queen, rising in anger, exclaimed while scrutinizing his eyes, "How can you be innocent when you did not shed a tear for the separation from your family, loved ones, and homeland?" Kai was bewildered, unable to respond. The Snow Queen shouted, "Do you claim innocence as you no longer feel love, longing, or nostalgia?" The boy, with his heart turned to stone, could only watch and listen. The Snow Queen asked sternly, "Do you still think you are innocent?" The boy hesitated, and all he could ask was, "How long do you want me to remain a prisoner here?" The Snow Queen looked into the distance and said in a deep voice, "Listen, boy, I have a condition, a request. If you fulfill it, I will release you." Before she opened her mouth, she continued to speak slowly and gracefully. I want you to carve a word on the ice using 4 letters. The first letter is Ka, the second is Lam, the third is the letter War, and the fourth and last is the letter Dal. Do you understand what I mean? Kai answered, his confusion gone. These letters together spell the word Kolud, eternity. The queen's face lit up upon hearing the word eternity, and she said to Kai, "Go and carve this beautiful word on the ice. If you carve it complete and clear, I will release you and return you to your home and family." Kai rushed to the palace courtyard, dismissing the queen's request, thinking it was an easy task. In the middle of the courtyard, he bent down on the ice, and with his nails, he began to carve each letter of the word eternity. Much to his astonishment, every time he carved a letter, the snow would fall on the previous one, erasing it completely. He tried to hurry as if in a race against the snow, but the accumulation of snow on the courtyard was faster than him. Kai continued in this manner for several days, carving the letters only for them to be quickly erased by the falling snow. Eventually, he despaired, realizing there was no way to escape his fate in the Snow Kingdom. Meanwhile, Gerda had embarked on a journey, searching for Kai, crossing the borders of her land into the Snow Queen's kingdom. Armed with courage and hope, she braved winter storms and ignored the biting cold. Days passed until she noticed from a distance a white smoke rising from huts built with ice stones. She knew she was nearing her goal and asked anyone she encountered about the location of the Queen's palace. People questioned her purpose, and upon learning her story, they admired her courage, honored her dedication, and provided her with food and drink. Some even accompanied her until the outskirts of her village. Gerda continued her journey, regardless of winter storms and the harsh cold, driven by determination and hope. Soon she spotted smoke rising from a distance, indicating the presence of the Snow Queen's palace. She asked people along the way about the location of the palace, and they marveled at her bravery and wished her success. She continued until her strength was depleted from exhaustion and the hardships of the journey. Undeterred, she pressed on until one day she saw high walls made of ice. With the last of her strength, she approached and asked those she encountered about the location of the Queen's palace. They informed her that she had reached the gates of the palace. However, when she reached the palace courtyard, she saw a man bound by iron at his feet, leaning on the ice. She approached him, and her heart fluttered with a strange tenderness. He was bound to the ice, carving with his nails, only for the white snow to cover his work. She recognized him and was about to shout in astonishment upon seeing him, but he remained silent, absorbed, his face reflecting despair, fixed by hope. She called out to him with a gentle voice, "Kai, Kai, I am Gerda." He turned to see her, yet his eyes showed no sign of surprise or a glimmer of joy. Instead, an emptiness colder than cruelty filled his gaze. Without reacting to her presence, he quickly resumed his work, carving in the ice, only to be erased by the falling snow. Taking a moment of rest in a nearby hut, Gerda sought warmth before proceeding to the palace. No one from the guards or servants confronted her as they were all inside the palace, seeking warmth by the fire. Gerda realized immediately that Kai still suffered from emotional numbness. After observing his futile attempt to write the word eternity, she understood that he was trying to carve the word kolud aimlessly. Bending towards him, she began to help him, but as they worked, a commotion within the palace caught their attention. Gerda quickly retreated to a nearby hut. The hut was a refuge for the tethered reindeer, warm from the breath of the interlocking horns. Gerda felt the drowsiness setting in and lay down in a deep sleep, sweet despite the hardships, fears, and worries. She had seen Kai and knew he was still alive. However, the question remained: how to find salvation? When she woke up the next morning, Gerda heard a commotion and cautiously looked out of her hiding place. She saw the Snow Queen climbing into her carriage, shaking the reindeer, and swiftly departing the courtyard. When the guards were momentarily absent, Gerda approached the palace square and drew close to Kai. He remained absorbed in his futile work, and when she called out to him with tenderness, he didn't respond. Overwhelmed by emotion, she turned away, attempting to suppress her tears. However, her tears fell, and as she leaned towards Kai, embracing him with her eyes shedding tears, one teardrop from her eye fell onto his chest. The tears of Gerda had a miraculous effect. Suddenly, Kai revived, stood up, and looked at the girl with love shining in his eyes. He felt that his heart had returned to its original beat when they first met as beloved ones. Overwhelmed with joy, he cried, and his tears washed away the yellow haze covering his eyes. He exclaimed, "Gerda, are you here?" And she shouted back, "Kai, don't be afraid. I'm Gerda. Yes, and I've come to save you." They embraced in a burst of joy. Suddenly, the boy felt a supernatural force surging through his arms and fingers, down to his nails. He bent over the ice and swiftly carved the word eternity. As if the snow had a heart that started beating, it immediately ceased falling. The engraved word appeared on the ice, clear and distinct, without a trace of the snow patches. When the Snow Queen returned to her palace and saw the enchanted word, realizing what Gerda had done and the influence of the malicious sorcerer on Kai, her heart softened. She promptly ordered her carriage driver to take the young couple back to their homeland, filling the carriage with gifts. The flower bridge rejoiced, witnessing Kai and Gerda meeting on its surface, watering the flower beds and whispering words of purity and harmony.